So today we're talking about tools, and what I mean by this is not just the everyday tools that you would carry with you fishing. What I'm talking about are the tools that a lot of people might overlook, and these are tools I know that will come in very handy and will make your days a lot less painful, a lot less stressful, and hopefully and ultimately help you catch more fish. So I kind of picked these 5 tools, and I'm going to put these 2 into one category. But what we've got here is we've got some long needle nose pliers, some heavy duty side cutters, some form of a hook file, some small needle nose pliers, and screwdrivers. So with that being said, let's start with the long needle nose pliers. Everybody typically carries some form of pliers, needle nose pliers for getting hooks out. You could kind of say these or whatever. But what I mean is an extra long pair of needle nose pliers. And this doesn't matter whether I'm going in my boat, if I'm going fishing off a pier or the bank or whatever. These right here are super valuable, especially if you're trying to keep fish alive. A lot of times, no matter whether you're fishing lures, crankbaits, jerkbaits, maybe a Cinco type bait or something, or live bait, a lot of times fish will get a bait deep down in their throat, and these pliers right here come in very handy. Heck, I've dropped tools and dropped screws and stuff down in the hard to reach places in my boat, and these have come in very handy for that as well. But ultimately, these are for getting hooks out of fish in places that you can't with a normal pair of needle nose pliers. So super valuable, and I recommend you have them. Like I said, whether you're in a boat, you can put them in the bottom of a tackle bag or whatever, but just a necessity no matter where you're going fishing. Next, this is super important, is a big heavy duty pair of side cutters. And what I mean by this is these aren't just for cutting line and tool or save your fishing trip type of a tool. Numerous times I was able to cut hooks to get them out of my buddies.
Yeah, it's already through. Yeah, good borer bow.
Okay, well. So look, when you go through far enough, you just watch your eyes. Now pull it out. But if you have a bass boat and you don't have a big heavy duty set of side cutters, you're missing out. And right here is a reason why, because you've got to be able to cut hooks. And right there's the perfect example, because if all I had were these little side cutters, we couldn't have done it. If I would have had those, you can't do it.
And ultimately back to fish care, getting hooks out of fish as well to keep fish surviving. And what I mean by this, a normal pair of, a lot of people carry needle nose that have little cutters on them. These are not going to cut a big 7/0 type flipping hook or, some big saltwater hooks. Heck, in our saltwater boat, I can actually carry bolt cutters because we're using like big giant 11/0 hooks. We're using cable and all that. I actually carry bolt cutters in there. And ultimately, it's about safety. And what I mean by that is if you get a hook in you, your day's ruined if you can't get that out. And a lot of times it'll get past the barb, and instead of having to dig that hook back out through you, you can actually go and cut the hook off. Or numerous times we've had a crankbait and myself or a friend, and you'll go and you'll cut this hook off of the bait, and then it's easier to work with. Or like on a treble, you can cut all the other points of a treble hook off just to have that one to work with. So big heavy duty side cutters are must. The other is getting in fish and all that too. There's been numerous times where I've had to kind of do surgery on a fish and save a fish's life because I'm able to cut hooks. And these are a must right here. So these are a tool that I use a lot as well. Not just simple needle nose pliers, but as you can see, these are small, compact needle nose pliers. Small pair of needle nose pliers, but they're strong. And I use these all the time for tuning baits, and really good for that when you get into really small stuff like split rings and everything. But tuning baits, and if you're a crankbait or jerkbait fisherman, it doesn't matter how great a bait it is, you're always going to be tuning it. And a big pair of needle nose pliers, it's really hard a lot of times to get in there and really fine tune and tweak the bill of that bait or the tie on it to get it right. So a really fine pair of needle nose pliers works really well for that. If you're into smaller bait fish, pan fishing and all that, they come in really handy too. But tuning baits, super important. And then, like I said, also on a lot of your smaller baits, even working with your split rings and all that as well. So Small needle nose are super important. This one really amazes me is how many people, especially in a boat, don't carry a simple screwdriver, but this one we've taken it a step farther, and this is like a 10 or 12 in one tool, and you've got your common, blade and Phillips screwdriver, but then, I love this one because it kind of does everything. It's got little hex heads, Allen heads on it, so, you can go to a hardware store, and this one I can do about everything I need it to do because it's got different sizes on it, and comes in really handy a lot of times in my boat as well, because doesn't matter, in a boat, you're gonna have screws come loose somewhere on something, and it just comes in really handy, and it saves a lot of headache trying to fix it without one. And then this one is kind of in that same category. I love this little tool. I found it at a hardware store, and it's kind of a smaller version of this, but reels, maintenance with reels and all that fine stuff, your sunglasses and all this. This is a smaller version, a teeny tiny blade and a teeny tiny Phillips screwdriver on there. And, so for like reel maintenance, needing to tighten a screw or oil or grease a reel, I can do that quickly. And then even some of our baits, they have little fine screws in them as well. So I can tweak this stuff with this little screwdriver. So this is a really handy tool to have as well. So some form of screwdriver or tightening device for all the little ways that we hold things together. And then last but not least, I can't go fishing without one of these because they're so important in my arsenal, no matter where or what I'm fishing for. It's some type of hook file or hook hone to sharpen hooks with, because, it doesn't matter what type of fishing you're fishing for. If I'm fishing a crankbait, I'm burying it down in the rocks. The tips of those points are going to get worn down. If I'm catching a lot of fish, the tips are going to be worn down a little bit. And over time, you always got to touch up your hooks. And it doesn't matter. I mean, it can be the fanciest hooks out there. You still got to touch them up. So I'm always taking my little hook file here, and I'm just touching up my hook points to make sure they're super, super sharp. So I'm going to get the best hookup and landing ratio on my fish as well. So if you're going fishing, these are 5 of the tools that you must take with you to have a better day on the water.